Hello, welcome to Module 6. I am on our Module 6 section of the As You Learn course page. Be sure that you review the CSS cascading style sheets, slides, and I'm just going to quickly go through just so you remember you can always download these files and view it on your Adobe Acrobat, which may be easier to scroll through than to do it directly on the course page. But we're going to begin talking about what is CSS in this module, which allows us to create rules to format styles. And there's some examples of different kinds of rules or styles that you can use CSS for. We'll be using selectors. Each selector can have a declaration to indicate how the elements should be styled by that particular selector, and it's separated by a property and a value. A declaration can have several properties. For example, these H1 to H3 selectors have a font property as well as a color attributed to it. There are external style sheets, embedded style sheets, and inline styles, and we're going to be using primarily the external style sheet. And you can read about the differences here and more about the different selectors. The main thing you want to take note of now is the difference between a class selector and ID selector, and you can see the difference in the way that it's notated. The class selector has the period before it, and the ID selector has that hashtag or number symbol. And then we'll learn more as we do this tutorial together, the difference between the class and ID selectors. Also familiarize yourself with the CSS box. Here's a diagram of the content. The padding is that inset space within the box, and then there's the border, and then the margin is the area outside of the box. There's some additional resources and more about browser display. So I'm going to meet you in Dreamweaver, and we're going to start with Project 3 in your textbook from Against the Clock on Dreamweaver, and that's the Arts Council website. I am in Dreamweaver now, and I have this color chapter site up in my Files panel, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. I've already exported the STE site file, so I'm going to delete the current site. And then I'm going to import a site. I've already saved the STE, so I'm going to click on Import, and then I'm going to switch to my WIP folder and look for the site folder within that folder. So this is called the Council folder. These are the site files that I want, so I'm going to select this Council student files. And actually I'm going to go back because I don't have the STE site saved for that, so I'm actually going to create a new site, and I'm going to call it Council. And then in my local site folder, I'm going to browse to that Council folder in my WIP folder. So here's my desktop, go to my WIP folder, and then select the Council folder, and then I'm going to select the Council student file folders within that folder. So you will probably just have one Council folder. I'm going to choose that folder and save, click Done, and now I can see my site files in my Files panel. So we're going to start with stage 1 in this video of the Arts Council site. Familiarize yourself again with the image formats, which we've already done at the beginning of the semester, but this chapter is going to review the different image formats for GIF, JPEG, and PNG. So just make sure you understand the differences and the advantages of each image format. The JPEG is best used for color photographs. GIF supports some index transparency, but not a very large gamut of color. It's best used for graphics and artwork. And of course, the PNG has the advantage of transparency, so I tend to use PNG when I'm using a transparent background. Once you've set up your Arts Council site in Dreamweaver, I'm going to double click on index.html to open up that file. So remember that the index.html is your home page and you can only have one index.html page in your site. That's the first page that the server is going to look for in your root directory. I'm going to switch to live view and I'm just going to make my code pane a little bit smaller. And we can take a look at this site in live view. So we have some placeholder text to insert a logo. We have a navigation menu at the top. Then we have 3 columns, sections of text with some placeholder text. And we need to insert some images in those boxes. So we're going to use some different techniques to place images onto this web page. I'm going to switch back to design view now. And I'm in split view so I can see my code. I'm going to select the insert image here text on my first column or rectangle on the left. Then I'm going to delete that text, go to my files panel, and then expand the images folder. So I've got all my images placed inside this images folder. And then I want to look for the image to place there. I want to look for the festival JPEG image. So I'm going to select that that file and just drag it to that space where the placeholder text was. And you can see that image is already formatted to the correct size before I placed it here. Now remember to type in your alt text for screen readers so that if the image doesn't show up or if the viewer cannot see the image, they can see the alt text or the screen reader will read it out to the viewer. So in the alt text, I'm going to type in Spring Arts Festival link. With the image placed in the design view, you can look at the tag selector. So I'm going to move my properties panel out of the way. So you can see there is an image tag that's automatically placed here for the image file. And so that just tells us that it is an image file. And so you can see that image tag and you can see it in the code view. So here we have the img src. That's the name of the image. It's in the images folder. The width and the height is given in pixels. And then there's the alt text. I'm going to go back to live view. So we're going to now use live view to insert an image. I'm going to highlight the entire text there. You can double click the text to place your cursor within that frame or container. Then click and drag to select all of the text. So you can see that we're in the paragraph element in our tag selector there. We're going to delete that text, then go to our insert panel. I'm going to click out of that box so I can use the insert panel. I'm in HTML and I'm going to click on image. Then I have the options here to place the image before, after, or nest the image. I want to go ahead and nest the image inside that container, and then it brings up the dialog box here so that I can select the image that I want to nest in the container. So I want to select the children JPEG. I'm going to click on open, and now you can see the image is placed in that container. So those are 2 different ways. We did this one, place the image in design view, and now we place this image in live view using the insert panel. Again, I want to go to my alt text and type in kids workshop link and then press return or click out of it to finalize that. You can always press escape to leave that attribute pop-up window, and then we can also drag and drop. So I'm still in live view, and then I'm going to delete the insert image text here on that 3rd rectangle. I'm going to click away. So once I selected the container in the paragraph tag here, then I can go to my insert panel with HTML selected, select image, and then drag, and don't release the mouse until you see that blue highlighted frame. Once you see that, then you can release and then select the adults image in the images folder, click open, and then the image will be nested within there. So when you see that blue frame, that means that the image will be nested. So in the center image, we just clicked on image and then selected nest with the position assistant. Then with this third image, we just simply dragged and dropped it into the blue container to nest it. So there's 3 different ways there that we use to insert our images. And then we want to add that alt text to the last image and type in adult classes link. Now we want to insert our logo, so go ahead and highlight the insert logo text. We're still in live view, and now we're going to use the assets panel to insert the logo. So we're going to open the assets panel by going to window assets if you don't see it already. So I've got mine open down here, and then it shows you the image preview of each asset. So what we want to do here in the assets panel is select the logo image. So it gives you this thumbnail preview, and then you can refresh the site list by clicking on this refresh site list button. And I'm going to select the cac-logo.png image. So mine is a copy, but yours should just say cac-logo.png. We're going to click the Insert button at the bottom of the panel here. And again, we want to nest that image in the container. In the alt text, I'm going to type in Community Arts Council. Now we're going to resize and resample this image. So if you've worked in print or you've taken my print class, we typically don't want to resample an image because we want to usually make our images larger for print, and resampling would add pixels that aren't there. When we're thinking of the web format, we usually want to resize our images to make them smaller. So in that case, you can resample an image because we can take away pixels. We just can't add pixels. So when you resample, though, you want to maintain the original version, the larger version of the image, so that you can always go back to it if you need to use a larger version of the graphic or the image. So I'm going to turn off live view. So now I'm in design view. I have the image logo selected, and I see I've still got my logo text here, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And then I'm going to select the logo. Then in using the properties panel, make sure that the lock to the right of the width and height is locked. So we want to keep this image in proportion. So we want to lock the proportions. Then we're going to change the value here. So right now we're at about 800 pixels in width. I'm going to type in 550, so we're going to make this logo smaller. And now the height automatically changes because of the lock is on and it's in proportion. So keep in mind that we can make it smaller because we can take away pixels, but we don't want to really make it larger because then we can't add pixels that aren't there. So then we can click on the Reset to Original Size button or Commit to the Image Size button to the right here. So the check mark would be committing to the image size. So we don't want to select that yet because we want to save a copy first so that we can maintain that original image at a larger size if we want to go back to it. So I'm going to go to my lower right handlebar, hold the Shift key, I've got my lock on, and I'm going to drag up and to the left until my height reads 250. So I can also manually resize it proportionally by using that Shift key and dragging the lower right corner. I'm going to go back to my Files panel now, and I can look at the images in my image folder. So once you've expanded your images folder, then you want to select that original CAC logo and then Control right click to duplicate it. So you go to Edit and then Duplicate. Since I already have a copy here, I'm just going to delete that. But you should have two versions now. So the copy and then the original one. Select the original logo, click the file name so that you can change the name by adding the small text to it, and then finalize that name. So the copied or duplicated logo is going to be at the original size, and then the new size you can commit to the smaller resampled version. So you'll have two versions, the original size and then the smaller size. Go ahead and update the link to the new file name, and then you can commit the image, the small version, by clicking on the check mark. Go ahead and save, and then we will continue with stage 2 in the next video.